Let's see. Hi, everybody on Facebook. I'm Ryan Scott, of course, you know, because I'm kind of connected to this. And so I wanted to bring everybody on board. I'm going to talk for a minute just to let everybody get in here. But I have a challenge, kind of a New Year's resolution kind of thing, even though it's August, it's not New Year's. But I do have a challenge that I'm taking up for myself. And so I wanted to bring everybody on board. If you see me looking at a bunch of different places, it's because I have a bunch of different cameras going on. And so I want to, I'm not just looking off into the distance, I'm actually looking at different cameras. So I wanted to talk a little bit today about books, and I'm challenging myself to read over 70 books over the next 12 months. And there's a lot of reason behind that. I'm going to tell the story, but then I'm also going to challenge you to take up the challenge and do it with me. And it's basically because of this book. I haven't read this yet, but the title really stuck out to me. I don't know, it looks like on Facebook it's backwards, maybe not, maybe it's showing you. But if you can't read the title, it says, What Got You Here Won't Get You There. And when I saw this title, it like super impacted me, and for a couple reasons. Number one, for anybody that doesn't know, we've been here now for 4 or 5 years, so most people connected to me on Facebook know. But for those that don't, several years ago, we came to Seattle to start a church. And that's a big kind of, it's not culture shock, but it is a shock to me because now I am in a ministry or a role that I've never been in before. And when I read this title, it was like, light bulbs went off, and I kind of realized that in spite of all of my Bible college training, and in spite of growing up in a pastor's family, watching, everything, being in church from the time I was born, in spite of all of those things, I had never stepped into a role like that. And it kind of brought about this revelation that as far as I grow, that's how much my ministry will grow. If I want my church to grow, I've got to grow myself. My church will not outgrow me. God said, we usually use the scripture that he won't put anything on us that we cannot bear. And I think for the most part, we use that correctly in thinking that, nothing's going to come that's going to overwhelm me. But part of that is if you're stepping into a ministry or a profession or doing anything, especially in the kingdom of God, he's not going to put anything on your shoulders that you cannot carry. So if you want to, for instance, be a great soul winner, if you want to be a great anything in the kingdom of God, it's kind of determined on how much you grow into how successful you will be. And so when it said, what got me to this point is not going to build my church, it was a big wake-up call for me, and I realized that, man, I've got to start growing. I cannot be, if I'm going to be like I am right now, my church is going to be how it is right now. If I want it to get bigger, if I want it to get better, I have to grow. And the same goes for anything else in life. So I put myself on, kind of gave myself this attitude that I was going to read books, and I was going to learn from those books, and I was going to grow, just by learning from some of the best people in the world. And if you want to learn anything in the world, one of the best ways to do that is to find the people that are being successful already, read what they have written, and then you can apply that knowledge to your life. But one of the things that I found out was when I would read books, and I have this whole system that I devised where I was taking these books and I was reading through them. And I've talked to a lot of people about this, so I might have actually talked to you about it before, but I would open these books and I would highlight the parts that stuck out to me. And then I had this system where if I highlighted it, I would then go into a journal, and these journals were categorized by topic, so I had a marketing one, I had a leadership one, and I would go through, and whatever I highlighted, I would then go and kind of write it down in the book. Every highlight I would physically write down, and it caused a lot of writer's cramp, but I was hopeful that would kind of solve one of the main problems. One of the main problems I had is that I could comprehend what I was reading, but I would highlight a lot of stuff. I would get inspired by a book. I would learn a lot from a book, and then I would put it on the shelf when I was finished with it. I would go to sleep, wake up the next morning, and kind of go about my life, and never really had this sense that the things that I was learning in the books was actually being translated into my life. So I have decided Now, once I figured out how to actually do all of this, I decided that I was going to challenge myself with all of these books. There's more than 70 books here. And over the next 12 months, I am going to read all of these. And as you see, they're not all little. Matter of fact, the Bible is right here on top. That's one that I'm going to be reading over the next 12 months. Here's one, Life and Work Principles by Ray Dalio. It's a huge book. I'm going to be reading that one. And then there's all these others. Some of them, here's Competent Christian Counseling. It's a big textbook right here. And so it's not small books, but I'm going to try to read all of these, more than 70 books, over the next 12 months, because I need to learn. What got me here is not going to get me where I want to go. And so, with that being said, the first thing that everybody's said when I start talking about how I'm going to read all these books in the next 12 months, the first thought is there's no way you're not going to do it. And that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this video, is because I'm kind of putting myself out there, giving myself some accountability, because I'm going to also post these videos as I go, talking about the books that I'm reading, what I'm learning from them, so that people, if you don't see a video from me in a week or 2 weeks, you can be like, hey, are you stopping? It gives me that accountability. And so the first thought that I had when I thought about doing this is that it's impossible. I'm never going to get through all of these books in 12 months. But 6 months ago that was true, because I've been reading a lot recently. I've kind of decided that I wanted to read a book a week, and I never followed through on that. There's 3 reasons why I failed in the past to read and learn as much as I wanted to from every book. The first one is that I was a very, very slow reader. I'm one of those guys, and you might get this too. If I'm reading a novel or something and it explains that somebody said something in a certain way, or somebody made a certain face, I'm the guy that will make that face or stop and kind of, either in my mind or actually in real life, try to say something the way that it described that somebody said something. And so if you ever see me reading a book, you'll probably see some weird facial expressions and things, because that's just the kind of reader I am. I go very, very, very slow. I have great reading comprehension, but I'm just very, very slow at it. And so when it comes to reading a lot of books and learning a lot of books, learning a lot of stuff from books, I was kind of hampered by that because it was just way too slow. But then I figured out that I was reading books all wrong, and I'll tell you about that in a second. The second reason why reading books never really got me what I wanted from them is that I had no way of retaining the information. Like I said, I would highlight a lot, then I would put the book on the shelf when I got done with it, and pretty much just everything would be forgotten. Every now and then I would remember something, especially if it was very impactful, but for the most part I wasn't internalizing and I wasn't retaining what I was reading. And up until recently that's been the case. Like, I had to go back and reference a bunch of different books, but now I've figured out kind of how to do that and retain the information a little bit better. I'll tell you about that in a second. And the third thing is that you can read 100 books over the next week, and if you don't actually retain the information and actually put it into practice, then you kind of wasted your time, right? It's kind of like if you listen to preaching and you love preaching, but then you don't do what the preacher says, it's not really profiting you anything. So with that being said, those are the 3 things that I've had to overcome, and it's something that I've been working on for a long time. How do I get through books faster? How do I retain the knowledge better? How do I remember everything that I read? And then how do I actually apply it to my life? How do I put it in practice to get some value out of it, where I'm not just wasting my time? If I read a book, forget what it says, and don't apply it, I shouldn't have ever read the book. It's not doing me any good. So over the next 12 months, I'm going to be reading 70 plus books, and I think I figured out how to get the most out of that. That's why I have challenged myself. The second reason why I challenged myself is that I'm kind of addicted to buying books. There is a Half Price Books warehouse not far from where I live, and we went there the other day, and I came back with boxes of books, and they're stacking up. This big stack has been sitting here. I don't even have enough room on my bookshelves to put them, and so I've got to get through them before I buy any more books. I've kind of stopped myself from buying books until I get through them. So that's my challenge. How many books are you going to read over the next 12 months? And if you want to read books, if you really want to grow, I challenge you to kind of pick a number and then hold yourself to that. But we come back really to the problems that I was talking about before. It takes a lot of time. You forget a lot of what you read, and then also you don't necessarily always put it into practice. So here is kind of the thing that I figured out. I figured out how to kind of break through all of those things and read faster. I figured out how to actually retain the knowledge, and I figured out how to apply it to my life a lot better. And I've come up with kind of this system that I call SCIM, which is it's an acronym, and it basically allows you to read faster. So I can read, without even trying, I can read at least one book a week. And so when I'm talking about 70 books over the next 12 months, it's a lot more than one a week, but I'm still going to try to do that. And then when it comes to retaining what you read and actually remembering it, part of this system allows me to internalize the things that I'm reading, so that I can actually, it actually sticks with me. I'm not just highlighting, I'm not just writing it down and then forgetting about it. It actually sticks with me. And then the third thing is that you have to be intentional about remembering, and you have to be intentional about putting it into practice. So you can read all you want, but if you're not intentional about putting it into practice, if you're not intentional about remembering it, it'll just, you just basically wasted your time. So if you want to take part in a challenge like this, I challenge you to read as many books over the next 12 months as you possibly can. And if you want to take part in it, then here's what I suggest you do. Now, for one, the SCIM system that I'm talking about that I kind of came up with, it's kind of weird, but it works for me. I'm going to show everybody how to do that. I've actually got a webinar on Monday the 20th. So if you go to ryanscott.me, you will actually you'll be able to take part in that webinar. It's Monday the 20th at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, I believe. But then if you register for it and you can't make it live, I'll send you the video of it. But basically, I'm going to walk you through this 5-step system that teaches you how to read books faster, how to retain more of what you read, and then how to actually put it into practice. And so this is something over the last several years I've been trying to figure out for myself, and I think I finally got the system that works. And I'm going to be putting that system into practice as I plow through all of these books in the next 12 months. So hopefully you'll kind of take up the challenge. If you want to be on the webinar, it's absolutely free. That will be Monday the 20th. Go to ryanscott.me/read, and that will take you to the webinar. You can sign up for it there. If you have any questions about any of this, if you want to kind of put yourself on the spot and make yourself accountable to read through 30 books, 20 books, I'm going 70 plus, just comment or whatever. We'll walk through it together. Matter of fact, if you want to message me on Facebook, I will make sure that we keep each other accountable to reading this, because the truth of the matter is, what got you here won't get you there. You're going to have to develop yourself if you want to do anything greater than anything you've already done. And if you want to step into a greater ministry, if you want to see your ministry grow, if you want to see your life grow, your profession grow, you've got to learn to develop yourself. And the best way to do that is through books. And if you read a book and you don't actually apply it and learn from it, you kind of wasted your time. So with that being said, again, Monday the 20th, at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, I'm going live on a webinar that's going to walk you through the SCIM system, and it's free. You can register ryanscott.me/read, and you can get in there and do that. So I encourage you to watch. Make sure that you're keeping me accountable. If you want to make sure that you're getting all the updates, because I'm going to talk about each of these books as I read them. You can go to youtube.com, and I think it's /RyanScottOfficial. Is my personal YouTube channel. If not, just go to ryanscott.me and click the YouTube link. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel where I'll be posting all the videos where I talk about this. I'll probably be streaming live on Facebook too. But hopefully that's exciting to you. It's going to be fun, and I encourage you to kind of jump in and go along with it, and kind of spur some personal growth as well. So that's it for me on Facebook today. That's it for me on YouTube today. And hopefully this all works and I stick with it, because in 12 months, hopefully I'll be a lot smarter and have a lot more things applied to my life than I do right now. And most of that's going to be the Bible, which we're also starting a podcast about that, more information on that as well. I can't end these very well. I'm rambling right now, so I'm just going to hit the finish button and we'll be done.